We're recording that whole time because that's illegal.
To talk about killing people?
You don't have consent to hear about me murdering people.
Brother.
Oh, yeah. So, if you guys were going to get your faces turned to bug mush, what mask are you choosing?
Skeleton.
The pumpkin, skeleton, or witch?
Skeleton.
Skeleton it is.
I'm probably a pumpkin guy.
Yeah, me too.
Pumpkin, man. No one's a witch, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe it's
Is it witches be bitches? I don't know.
yeah, there's that. He called it season of the bitch.
There you go. That was just right there, man. Low hanging fruit. You got it.
Yeah.
So, right at the gate, you're dealing with a bunch of chauvinist pigs.
Oh, God.
Welcome to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Murderer.
Cheers.
Ooh. Clink.
All right.
Goodness.
That is a hell of a way to start. Are we recording?
Oh, that would be good. Yeah, I asked him during the movie. I was like, what's your favorite mask? Because you got the pumpkin one.
Sure.
I was like, I would probably pumpkin or skeleton. I was like, I just don't really like the witch one. I don't know. The color's cool, but other than that, I'm not really into it.
It's just,
I still feel like it would fit me.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I look like a witch.
Just walk out just the entire
Exactly.
wearing.
You could be a witch if you wanted to be.
Thank you. That's true. It's 2022.
That's right.
I could be
You don't have to settle for a pumpkin,
That's
man.
right. Damn straight. I don't have to settle for a pumpkin.
Welcome back to the Johnny Horror Podcast. I am your host, Johnny Horror, and fucking A, we have two guests tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and this is one hell of a show. It's a Halloween special, if you will, and God, if I can manage it, it will be dropping on Halloween-ish, maybe before, God willing. At least the first part. I don't think I can do both parts. But with me tonight is my Johnny Jaws cast co-host,
Brian Calvert.
Ayo!
my God.
And returning champion to the Johnny Horror Podcast,
Kalen Berreman.
Woo! Y'all got a trifecta tonight. Boys, favorite Halloween candy, go.
Oh, fuck, man. Snickers?
Yes, I was eating on some Snickers
Yeah.
tonight. Ghoulish green.
That's
Ghoulish
right.
green. Bri?
Damn, put me on the spot. I think I still like dots the most.
Dots?
See, I'm not really a big chocolate person.
Like the little box of dots
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
used to get? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I like those. Those are fun to get as a kid. Chewy. Very chewy.
yeah,
They
it's
stuck in
very
your
cheap
teeth.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
You guys have any plans for this Halloween? You guys have anything that you're
No idea.
no?
Yeah, not really. We usually go to Kelsey's parents' place because they live in like a big nook of like a neighborhood, so it gets packed. People
Yes.
come drop their kids off in that neighborhood, so they go through crazy amounts of candy.
Nice.
So we usually just hang out there,
That sounds fun.
throw it at people. Yeah, it's just like the whole street is
Just
like
the
curb to curb people.
Large, the king size Snicker bars are just chucking them
Yeah.
4-year-olds.
Yeah, those big airport Toblerones, like baseball bats, beating them away.
That's because they knock in mailboxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the vibe in the neighborhood we're going for.
Well, abusing children on Halloween.
Underrated. The older you get.
Now I understand. Like as a kid, I was like, why do you have to worry? Like, why would people poison candy and put razor blades inside, caramel apples? Like, why?
And now you're an adult and you're like, I would do that shit.
Actually, I was like, there's just a threshold that you cross. That's all it is.
Do you remember our parents trying to convince us that like poor people were putting copious amounts of expensive drugs in candy just so that some children would get a little bit high? And we believed that shit.
Yeah.
Like, our parents were dumb.
They're like, the poor people would get rid of the drugs.
Yeah.
What a waste.
Just gonna spend $3,000 to get some children high. It's funny. Like, what the fuck? Like, somehow I don't think that's real.
I worked 6 months straight without a day off.
I picked up a second job so I could poison these children.
Happy Halloween, cocksuckers. Well, fucking A. I don't even know if we can air this podcast.
Went off the rails
Bunch of
immediately.
fucking scumbags over here. Lord. Jesus Christ. Tonight we are talking about Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Arguably my favorite, my personal favorite of the Halloween franchise, but as I was telling my good buddy Brian before we watched it tonight, that obviously you can't have Halloween 3 without Halloween, and Halloween is a moment in history. It is a perfect film, and so obviously Halloween is untouchable, but Halloween 3, you know, sorry if I spoil my ranking right out the gate, is a very, very close second on my ranking. But enough about me. Fellas, I know that this was first time watch for both of you. Brian, you just watched it with me for the first time. Kalen, you had to watch it, what was it, a couple of weeks ago you watched it for the first time? Way to do your homework. You were already on top of it. Hashtag God bless.
Wow.
Fellas, tell me what your general vibe was going into this movie. Both of you kind of having the idea that this is the only Halloween movie that does not feature Michael Myers. Kalen, why don't you take it away?
Sure. So for me personally, I was pretty hyped because, you know, you really like the movie, and I, more often than not, I value your opinion on things. And it had like kind of a cool mystique as a movie goes, you know? Mm-hmm. It was like, oh, that's that, and there's not a lot of those anymore. Like, I'm getting older, I've seen most movies. Like, there's not a lot of like movies that I haven't seen that I sort of just have like this imaginary idea of what they are.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of cool to watch something that I had kind of thought about for a long time but hadn't gotten around to. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Brian?
Yeah, I agree. I was super into it. After you told me Michael Myers wasn't in it, I was like, okay, sweet. I've always been really curious about these 3 masks I see all the time. So I'm super pumped to dive into this and actually like figure out what's going on and how they spin this into something different. But yeah, it was awesome. I loved it.
Now, without giving too much away right out the gate,
Sure.
As this plot unfolds in this film, did you guys ever kind of guess what was going on, or was it just like, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck? Because the first time I watched it, that's what it was. I was like,
yep,
that's happening now? What the shit is going on? Was that more or less your guys' reaction to the way this film happens?
I mean, I still don't know what was going on. That was a fucking crazy movie.
Yeah, same. Like, it was just a hot mess there for a while. Like, I never really figured out where it was headed until it was like, oh, all right, it's really wrapped up, I guess, now. Kind of.
The credits are rolling. Gosh, that must be it.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I asked him when it ended. I'm like, so this is like a Marvel movie, right? So they're going to explain the rest of it in like 2 minutes. And then at the very end of the credits, some more. Really wrap it up, tie it with a bow, and send me home,
We're going to get that post-credit scene where Doctor Challis is once again hitting on some random woman, right?
Teenager. Right. Quite possibly.
Dr. Challis hanging out at the high school.
And Michael Myers will pop in. Yeah, exactly.
Boom. Oh, bro, you just had $1 million idea.
I'd watch the shit out of that movie.
Yeah, right?
Alright, fellas, well, we're going to dive on into this. There it is again. I can't not do a podcast without saying dive on in. Go watch American Dad. The episode, I don't remember what season it is, what number episode it is, but it's called Roger's Place. You can thank me later.
Yeah.
We're going to jump into our personal thoughts and feelings about this film, what we liked, what we didn't like, random thoughts, and I got a question or two for the boys at the tail end of that. And that's probably going to wrap up the first part of this coverage of Halloween 3, and then for the second episode, we will cover the behind the scenes, the making of, and our final thoughts and ranking on this film. So, without any further fucking ado, boys, go ahead and give me the good stuff.
Ooh.
What did you guys like about this movie? I'll start out with just a nice and simple one, and then we can go in an order here. I'll say one, you say one. You say one, we'll go in a row until we've each covered everything that we have. For the good stuff, right out the gate, I said that the credits set the mood and the tone. It's a very slow-paced, very eerie, and just uncomfortable credit sequence where we see this pumpkin being kind of created via computer screen. The music is dark and ominous. You're not really sure what to expect from this new Halloween movie. But having seen the film a number of times, I can say without question that the credits really kind of give you the general idea of what the tone of this movie is going to be right out the gate. So that's something that I personally like.
Yeah, that was awesome.
My first note is the soundtrack, which I think is in lockstep with what you were saying.
Yes.
And actually with the soundtrack, I really think that tone is sort of part of the implication there. I was definitely immediately interested and kind of in, and just ready to give this movie some slack, some time to buy me over, because of that music and the way that it hit. And I feel like that's kind of part of the Halloween franchise.
Yeah.
Like, we have dope fucking music and tone that makes you want to listen and pay attention and kind of gets a little bit of buy-in from you as the audience. Right?
Yeah, so that score is once again John Carpenter, along with his fellow composer Alan Howarth. Now, this comes out in 1982. At this time, John Carpenter is somewhere around there, is probably busy working on The Thing. They also did some work on the Thing score as well, in addition to in this what is that I'm terrible at this. I'm terrible at names on the spot.
You mean who scored The Thing?
Yeah.
I don't have that off the top of my head.
Sorry, I'm just pulling this up right now because it's gonna bother me if I don't, and I'm gonna be very angry. But while I'm doing that, I have it on the tip of my tongue. I just don't want to fuck up the name. Like, I see it in my brain, and I'm just like, oh yeah, because this is the same guy who that Quentin Tarantino pulled the score from for The Hateful Eight.
I did not know that.
You can do it.
It's somewhere in here. Oh, Ennio Morricone. There, yeah, he's Italian, and I apologize for butchering his name, but again, he is a very well-known, or was a very well-known Italian composer who died just recently. But anyways, I digress. Those boys, you can hear the similarities in the scores between Halloween 3 and The Thing. They're both very foreboding. They're both dark. They're both very, very grim. Almost there's a sense of hopelessness to them.
Totally.
That when you start watching both of those movies, you're just like, this probably isn't going to end well.
Yeah.
So, but more on that later. Brian, hit me with one of your lights.
Yeah, soundtrack was definitely the first thing I put down, but I also really liked Dr. Brownbag in it. I was a big fan of that. It really sets the tone. I was like, is this our new main character?
That's my next thing that I have is that I love
Dr.
that
Booze Hound?
that Dr. Challis is brown bagging it right out the gate.
Immediately. It's the first time you see him, right? 2 brown bags in his hand as he comes home to his wife and kids, or ex-wife, whatever, at the time.
It definitely, it's one of those, there's so many beats like that with him, and most of them involving alcohol, but that says just a lot about his character.
Yeah.
He is one hell of a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah.
What kind of doctor is he anyway? Is he just a general practitioner?
He seemed like a internal medicine primary care physician.
I was gonna say, I hope he is not a surgeon.
Didn't look like it.
To piggyback on that, I have right underneath it that Tom Atkins, the actor portraying Dr. Daniel Challis, is perfect. I love Tom Atkins. He probably my favorite in this movie, but he is great in Maniac Cop. He is great in Night of the Creeps. And he is also has a great little bit part in Creepshow, and The Fog. But he's just I just think he's immensely charismatic and immensely likable, even for all like the womanizing and all that. Like, he just seems like a genuine person. Never once do I think, oh, this guy's just a scumbag trying to sleep with all these women. I'm just like, he cares. He just cares about people. And, good on him, because he's a fucking doctor. So, go ahead. Kalen.
Well...
He's like, the score was the only thing I liked.
That was it. This movie sucks balls. No. So I wrote like a lot of like very specific scenes.
I knew, like, I was like, as Brian and I were taking notes, I was like, I really should have given Kalen a heads up that I was like, 90% of Brian's likes are just bullshit to piss me off. Like, you're gonna come with this novel of like, well, I really liked what this scene was trying to portray in the sense of the the Shakespearean blah 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 blah. And if you, I'm like, yeah, no, but please.
So when the initial victim is brought to the hospital by that Good Samaritan, that scene. And that actor playing that random Good Samaritan, that is good stuff.
Yeah.
It's good filmmaking. Like, it's impressive. It's impressive acting and it's impressive filmmaking. And, like, I don't mean this in a negative way whatsoever. I believe that guy is an African-American man in 1982 who does not want to talk to the police. He does not want his name written down. He does not want to be dealing with this bullshit. He's just a good enough person that he wasn't going to watch someone die, right? So he's going to get him to the hospital. And he's like, hey, can I fucking dip? Like, I don't want to be here. Like, I don't want to talk to you white people. Like, I just want to leave. And then when the guy starts going like, we're going to kill us all, he just makes this face like, fuck that shit. It just starts backing away. And I just think it's so well done. Like, I think that's just like, I just think it's it's just very like honest storytelling. I don't know. That really hit me as like that's pretty good.
Yeah. See, I've never. See, this is why it's great to have three people on the podcast. You get, instead of just getting me being angry at Brian, some fucking in-depth like film discussion here. Yeah, see, I've never like thought of that scene that way. It's always just kind of like stuck out to me. Where he's like, I was always taught that you should help people unless there's going to be trouble.
Right,
and
like, I don't want
and that that goes right back to what you were saying that an African American man in this period in time, and fuck, who are we kidding?
And now,
even now, like trying to do something good could just end up making things worse. And I love that. I'll never look at that scene the same way again because what you said, like he does just start backing up and he's like,
he's out.
God damn it, Mama!
Yep.
Why did you teach me to be good?
Yep.
Like I would have left this white man to die on the street. That's fucking fantastic. Thank you for that's good, in depth, and thought provoking. Brian, what do you have? I like how the masks were different colors.
Well, I'm just gonna skip a couple. I like all the deaths. We talked about it earlier, but I thought they were all done really well, and they weren't like, all of them obviously. But the ones from the dudes in the gray suits were super rad and like very like eerie and like I don't know. It was just I thought they were really cool. They weren't like I guess they were pretty overly gory, but I don't know. It was good like 80s kill scenes. I love that.
That is one of the things that I just love about this movie. It comes out in 1982 and it's almost ahead of its time. Like I feel like 2 more years and you're in like the fucking thick of crazy 80s like ridiculous kills that just like it didn't need to be that fucking over the top, but it is. And this plays into that so well. The kills are over the top. The kills are very gory, especially if you consider what came before in the Halloween franchise. There's little to no gore in the original 1978 picture, and then Halloween 2 definitely ramps it up significantly, but this is just, they're pushing the envelope. Man, the kills in this are great. I mean, a fucking dude's head just gets ripped off.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. And even the one where, like, the guy sits in the car and kills himself, it was like, whoa! Like, I'm like, these are gnarly! Like, and the ones where, like, they're sneaking up on people, I'm like, you're really like, are they gonna kill him? What are they doing here? Like, what's going on?
There is something just primal about that moment when the guy in the car pours gasoline over himself. You're just like, no, no.
Like,
it's so good.
What?
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's such a great moment, and his, like, face, like, when I was watching it tonight, I was like, is that a human or is it a dummy? Because he is so straight-faced as he pours the gasoline over himself. I would not be surprised if they use a dummy, because try to be, like, just
with water,
a person, even with water, just to have water dumped on your face like that and not blink and not move at all.
Just a 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah.
Like,
genius.
Such a trip.
Genius.
That was awesome.
Can I offer a small critique of that scene?
Please.
I thought that scene was so badass, and I was watching this with my girlfriend. She's a huge film fan and she loves horror, but she's also skeptical and has a pretty high bar. And she got into it with that scene. She was like, oh, this is cool. But it would have been more effective if they hadn't blown up the car. Because, like, I don't know if you guys know this, when you set cars on fire, they don't actually, like, go blow. Yeah, they just burn. If they had just let the car burn, I feel like that would have been scarier and more effective. If you just watched them go up in flames, and then, like, you're just Doctor Challis watching this car with a man in it just burn and crackle for a second, I think that would have been chilling.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Not the backseat filmmaker over here.
No, by no means. I think you're right, and I mean, scientifically, you are correct, and you are also correct from what is like a more scary imagery. I just feel like in 1980s cinema, they aren't thinking that way. They're like, whoa, like everyone assumes back then. It wasn't until recently. Hi, Celeste!
Hi, boys.
Mwah.
How are you?
Nailed that. Hola. How are you?
Good. I only ate a half-crusted piece of chicken breast this morning, so I'm fucking starving.
Sorry we didn't leave more pizza. Brian was a
Oh,
hungry,
yeah.
hungry little boy. Ooh.
I hate you so much.
What is that sound supposed to be?
Oh, this is just a rub in the belly.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Got it.
You guys good?
Yeah, we're good.
Got all your drinks in here?
Yeah, we're good. Thanks, Mama.
Love you.
Love you. God, the
it.
timing on that.
Killed it.
But yeah, I feel like it wasn't until recently that people were like, "Yeah, cars don't really explode like that."
Right.
And I mean, even from a filmmaking standpoint, there needs to be this element of drama. But I agree that would have been fucking scary as fuck.
I think you guys need to go watch Fast and Furious 1 through 17.
Clearly.
Cars explode all the time.
Every car explodes.
Literally nothing happening.
Especially the one with Paul Walker in it. Ooh.
Damn. I was going to say R.I.P., but that was just...
Nope. No cell.
Oh.
I'm unmiking.
Yeah.
I gotta leave.
Yeah. Gotta go.
Ooh. Hot takes tonight.
Oh my god. You're a monster.
I'm not proud of it. I almost didn't do it. I was like, I feel bad even thinking this. Come on, how could we not? I have here the cinematography is masterful. So, cinematographer Dean Cundy, who did Halloween 1, 2, and this picture, along with The Thing, would go on to be director of photography for Jurassic Park.
Wow.
This picture is gorgeous. Every frame, I just look at it, I'm like, I've seen that on the internet. Just this picture, and it's different scenes from it. I just see shit pop up on my Instagram, and it's just random screenshots from this film, and that's how good this film looks. And I cannot, say enough about how pretty this film is to look at. Yeah.
When was the last time you got medicine?
He can use some. My kid's sick, everyone. It's not my fault. Hi. Hey, dude. You want to come say hi really quick?
Yeah.
Okay, come here really quick. Hi. Can you tell everyone in the audience? Say hi to the camera.
Hi.
Wave. Say hi.
Hi.
All right. All right. You got to go to bed now, okay?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Fucking guest appearance left and right tonight, ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome.
He locked the deadbolt.
Yeah. I'll figure that out later.
Perfect. Oh. Gotta change your heart.
One of these days.
Bye-bye.
You got boogies?
Yeah.
He's got boogies, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry,
Right on.
come on, buddy.
It's not nighttime.
We're gonna eat some salad.
Bye-bye.
Okay, you got
Everybody.
He's got boogies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come
All right.
on.
Go with your mama.
Did you
Yeah,
look for
bye.
I didn't find it.
Okay, come on. You have to put my cake away.
Shit. It's not my fault. Anyways, what's your next like?
All right, let's see. Let's see what we got.
I need a drink.
Okay, so I have another specific scene here.
Yes, please.
That's also in the hospital during that similar part of the movie. I don't have that many of these. I'm sorry.
Too many.
So there's a scene where he and his nurse that he clearly works with quite a bit are strolling the hallway together, and he smacks her on the butt, and she does like a big exaggerated like woo, and I've seen this scene used as criticism for the movie, for the way the doctor is sort of portrayed. Our hero, Doctor Challis, is portrayed, and I couldn't. With regards to this specific moment, I couldn't disagree more. I thought this scene conveyed so much in like 15 seconds. I knew so much about these two.
Yes.
He smacked her on the butt. She jumped up. She turns immediately, and she smacks him back. Because when he did it, he said, "I should have married you." She smacks him back, and she says, "Careful, I play for keeps."
Yes.
And then they hug, and then they go separate ways. And he turns and points to her and says, "Hey, I'm serious." And you can just tell that these are great friends.
Yes,
that like
absolutely.
They're like best friends. They've been working together for years. They have a great affection for each other. They probably have a great deal of like professional trust. You know what I mean? And clearly like a real personal affection. Yeah. You got a cute kid, buddy. But yeah, I feel like that again. When like how I mentioned that other scene, I was like, man, that's just good filmmaking. That was how I felt about that scene. I was like, that's just good filmmaking.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I love that bit between them. I think it's so cute, for lack of a better word, just their friendship. Never once does it feel like he's trying to take advantage or be crass in any way. I absolutely agree. It just says a lot about their friendship. And again, that goes back to what I think about that character of Dan Challis, that he genuinely cares. I think he just, from the alcohol to his natural, like, charisma with all of these women that he encounters, it's more like he's... I never think of him as, like, a trashy womanizer. I just think he's a lost soul, just kind of, like, looking for some sort of affection. Because clearly, if you look at his ex-wife, she is not the one to give it, you know? Right. So he just seems like a very genuine person, and I do agree 100% that their interaction there is totally genuine and fucking sweet as hell, so... Yeah. Brian, what do you got next, buddy?
I really like the escape scene for Dr. Challis in his holding cell. That was one of my favorites.
Oh,
the entire thing, all of it. How he escapes.
I think I have here. Oh yeah, landing the mask on the surveillance camera.
After he breaks the TV screen with his foot and uses the glass to cut himself loose. Except for his arms, which are still bound. And then throws the mask up on the camera.
Well, he was concerned that they were going to spy him doing it. That part with him, like, landing the mask, because I think they even say it in the behind the scenes. They're like, yeah, it took quite a few takes to get that shot. But I can't imagine why. It would be fucking impossible.
Yeah.
Let alone with your arms like...
your waist.
Like a fucking camera that's up in a corner like 6 feet away.
And then it ties right into his Die Hard scene in the airbag. It's amazing.
That is the shot, and God, which one's first? Is this has to be first, right? Die Hard comes later, right?
Yeah, Die Hard came out several years later.
Oh man. So we'll back it up just a hair. It was a while before I had like another thing to actually like say. Not that I'm not in love with this movie, but I'm watching this movie intently. So, but there's a moment when right after they catch Challis, after he's dismantled the robot, and Cochran says it's Halloween morning now, and they walk outside, and there's this little like far away shot of Cochran just kind of like taking in the morning, and he does this like little like happy smile and this little skedaddle, and he follows after the robots who are taking away Challis, and I swear to God, I laughed out so loud, and I told Brian, I was like, I don't think I've ever noticed that before. Like, it just caught me so off guard, like how happy he is, and he does this almost like little like skip to chase after them. I'm like, this is one sadistic fucker. He's like, yay, Halloween! I'm gonna kill all these kids today.
Exactly.
I love that. Yeah! Homicide!
Nothing like a dose of child murder in the morning.
Oh my god.
What do you got for me, Kalen?
Let's see. Nothing that fun.
You
Alright.
drowned us. That's what it is. Like, you and I are all bullshit. You have good stuff.
Well, my next was the murders. The beginning with the I love that hospital murder. That is just so fucking scary.
Right?
Like he just pulls his face apart like cotton candy.
Gnarly.
Like it's so gross and like so. You really like the word effective. I'm getting this word from you. But it is, man. It is. It freaks me out. It makes me afraid of those robots.
Yes.
Right.
The way it does that to him. And those murders in that movie are like that. Like the hobo that he talks to later getting his head pulled off.
Yeah.
Those are some gruesome,
gnarly.
Effective murders. And like...
The shit you don't expect either.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's gonna choke him out. You know?
Right, and then he just like pulls his head off.
Or that. Jesus.
Yeah. And
gloves are literally on. Okay.
Well, obviously, if we're talking about the murders, I feel like we can't discuss just the robot killings. We really have to dive into the misfire and the test.
okay, so that was the next one. Was the for me the misfire was so dope and such impressive practical effects.
Now, both of you, because this is one of those moments when I watched it, I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And I know watching with Brian was just like, "Huh? What? Why is there a lightsaber shooting in this woman's face?" So both of you, tell me about each of you what kind of was going through your mind during that first misfire sequence.
I got excited because like science fiction horror is like my shit. That's what I like. And so far we know something's going on with masks, and we have robots pulling people's heads off. And I'm in with that, right? Like that's pretty cool. But then like a woman has a little token shoot a laser beam in her face, and she looks like someone put her head in a microwave with crazy good practical effects and just scary as hell. And so I think for me, what was going through my head was I was just very excited, like to see where the movie's going. I'm like, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was caught off guard by just the 80s graphics, but the way they cut it all together so quickly, you're just like, oh, damn! Like, I could see the lightning bolt zigzags there for a second, but then the way they put it all together, you're like, whoa, oh, hot shit, what the fuck just happened? And then, those practical effects, I was like, damn, that looks really...
Her face.
Like, that is wild looking.
Yep.
Every time I watch this, it is just one of the most painful things to look at because there's an element of realism to it. I can't put my finger on it because it's totally unbelievable. But there's just her breathing and the way of her face is just kind of not completely mutilated. Like her eyes are bulging, and that I think it's the eyes. I really do, because I'm like, there's still something in those eyes. I'm like, there's a human who was a human like 10 seconds ago and has zero idea what just happened to them, except that they are in agonizing pain and they're about to die. And to me, that whole sequence is just scary. And then you put bugs crawling out
Right.
of the mouth on top of that, and you're just like, what? Who the fuck came up with this shit, you sadistic pieces of trash? But yeah, I love that bit, and I think it is only outdone by the test room sequence.
Oh, yeah.
In which everything kind of becomes clear.
Right.
What is going on.
Yeah.
Did either of you kind of anticipate what was going to happen in that room when that scene started to unfold?
No.
No.
I thought it was going to turn the kid into something, and he was going to go take on the parents. Basically.
Absolutely.
That's where I thought it was going.
That's exactly what I expected too.
Because you don't really get a whole lot of information from the misfire scene. Because
Yeah.
it's so quick and random. You're just
Yeah.
okay, clearly it wasn't probably what was supposed to happen since she was fucking with it anyways.
Yeah.
And that was probably a fluke. So then you're okay, what's actually supposed to happen? Because now it's all going to plan. He's watching the TV. He's got the mask on. What are they actually trying to do here with this kid? And I'm turn him into a ghoul or something. He's gonna turn on the parents. They're all locked in there.
Yeah.
But
That's
it just goes a whole different direction.
That
I was
definitely,
oh, fuck.
That definitely felt like that was the idea. That felt almost like that was going to be the conceit of the movie, right?
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be more it was gonna take that turn, kind of like Children of the Corn thing.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Not as much of just immediate murder.
Right.
Look at the TV screen. You're fucking dead now.
Like
Thanks for wearing the
the
mask.
sins of the parents are,
Right, yeah, the greed and
kind
shit
of
or
brought
something,
on the children and whatnot, and then therefore unleashed back onto the parents. I like that. I mean, that's
what I
a
thought it
cool
was
idea.
Yeah, I didn't know
Kind
they were
of
just
plays
going
into
genocide.
something even more horrific because you realize that the overall goal is human sacrifice,
Yeah.
and those sacrifices are mainly going to be children,
Right.
which is dark.
Yeah.
Yep.
So heavy.
And one of the things that I love about this movie is that, yes, it is a weird fucking Halloween horror science fiction involving robots, witchcraft, and masks that melt your face into bugs. So many fucking things coming into play that you, every time I think about it, I'm like, how do I describe this movie to people? You can't. It's something that has to be seen to be believed.
Right.
But at the end of the day, bare bones, it's witches killing children. It is Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah.
That is what it is.
When you boil it down.
At the end of the day, and that is a fucking dark story.
It really is. Especially because I feel like a lot of people watching this were expecting, obviously, Michael Myers to make an appearance.
Yes.
So that's kind of why I was leaning towards, maybe they're going to go that route. Because if they don't have him, they're just going to make a billion mini versions
Little
of him that are
kids
wearing masks. Yeah.
And I mean, that could have been a cool... I mean, there you go. Had
That's why I thought it was going that way.
Had they made 10 more of these anthology-style Halloween movies, we probably would have gotten, Children of the Corn that, and then you realize, oh, one of them ran away. Oh, one of them's Michael Myers,
Right.
There's an idea right there, folks. Copyright. You don't get that. That's mine. Who was the last person to was
I
that?
think it was you. I think I'm up next.
Yeah, because we're talking about murders. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
But it kind of just piggybacks on what you were saying about the cinematography and everything. You brought it up and I wrote it down. That the shot of all the children slowly making their way home to go catch the 9 p.m. showing thing. There's so many good angles, but that one of them all silhouetted into the sunset with the city down.
And it does make it
so
way
cool.
Isn't that so reminiscent of older movies?
Right,
Too?
it's so 80s and it's so rad.
It's got that. It has almost that emblem aesthetic to it of the 80s kids out on their own that you really get a lot now in Stranger Things, but it's really kind of made popular by E.T. and the Goonies.
Yup.
It has that aesthetic to it because back in the 80s, really when these kidnappings and child murders really started to become prevalent, or at least made headlines was in that time period,
Right.
which is why, like, when we were all growing up, parents were like, you can't go past X, Y, and Z. You have to stay here,
Street lights,
where we can see you, basically. And yeah, that is a very oddly like nostalgic feeling for a time that really none of us were ever privy to.
Right.
Yeah.
None of us were around in 1982.
But it does give that vibe, and it is very, very specific to the 80s.
Totally.
And obviously that silhouette shot is prevalent on the poster. You have the witch up top, and then the silhouette of the kids walking down on the bottom of the poster. So I got a couple of things here. Where are you boys at on your list? You guys each have a couple more, or are you guys about wrapped up with your goods?
That was the rest of my actual good.
Gotcha.
I have two that I can make pretty quick.
Okay. Why don't you hit me with those really quick, and we'll see if...
So I wrote, I like the way that I shorthand to myself. I wrote Jeff Bezos.
I do that too. I'm like, oh, I'll know what this means.
I'll know what this means, and I do. I love the way the town and the people of the town worship. What's his name?
Cochran.
There it is.
Yeah.
The way they worship Mr. Cochran, one of the wealthiest men in the city,
very Amazonian. Yeah.
Colonel Cochran.
and the way that he has built an empire selling cheap products and just kind of built an infrastructure to facilitate the movement of very cheap products that he makes and then sells at an upcharge. And then he has like a million little peons doing all this work for him while he gets all this money, and they all worship him. Like, oh, isn't he smart? Like, isn't this guy so smart? The way he, the way that they just sort of worship him. It feels like the town worships him, and it's so weird because this movie came out 40 years ago, but to me there's a social commentary going on there, as is normal in good horror movies, right?
Yes.
There's a social commentary going on there that I feel like is even more relevant today, with the idea of putting rich people on a pedestal and assuming that they're better than we are, or that they have good intentions for everyone else, when it may not necessarily be true. So I thought that was really cool, and I really just dug the whole, like, this city is almost a church to this Mr. Burns character.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like, obviously we know that he made all of his workers, at least for the most part, or brought them from overseas.
Yeah.
But, like, only the homeless dude's the one that, like, talks shit about him.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a local boy, he didn't hire me.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right.
Like, oh, interesting. Everyone else just, like, keeps their nose down about it.
Oh, they're either a robot or they're an Irishman.
Yeah,
so.
true.
Can't trust either.
So I got a couple that I'll knock out here. Bri, you said that was the last of your like legit goods, meaning that you have ones that are primed to piss me off for no good reason.
I mean, yeah.
Go
I
ahead.
guess.
What do you have?
A couple.
Go ahead. Let's knock it out.
Okay, well, I also write in shorthand, and I put Tom Selleck.
Okay.
Because...
All right. Fine. Go ahead. Say your piece. It's stupid, but go ahead.
he's very Tom Selleck-y.
Who?
Who do you think?
I know who you're talking about. The audience doesn't, clearly.
Doctor Challis is very Tom Selleck-y. He has the mustache, he's got the hair, the vibe just in general, his clothes. He's a little womanizer, kind of a booze hound. No offense, Tom
Are you
Selleck.
saying he's like Tom Selleck, or are you saying he's like Magnum P.I.? That's what I...
Okay, yeah, no, that's better. Yeah, that's better.
If you were a doctor.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Is that your Barry Gibbs Award?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for those of you who may not follow our Johnny Jaws cast, Barry Gibbs is a callback to our first episode in which Brian thought the main character of Mike Brody, the actor who was portraying him, looked a lot like Barry Gibbs, and so from then on we do a Barry Gibbs Award, in
Mhm.
which Brian tells us who he thinks certain characters resemble. So,
Wasn't Paul Walker in one of them?
in what?
Didn't we use Paul Walker?
Oh, we
for
did
one of them?
use Paul Walker. you said Thomas Jane looked like Paul Walker.
Right.
God damn it.
Yes, that's right. We did. He's all blondie looking, young.
This podcast has a morbid, interest in Paul Walker.
Well, before it was honest and loving.
So I just knew in my heart of hearts that we were going to talk about Paul Walker at least twice on this podcast. If we talk about him a third time, remains to be seen. But I knew for sure twice. Brian, what else you got for me?
I really liked his line when he said, "I think it's time for the Marines."
That was so great.
He's just
Who
being
says that?
that's 100% like 80s like
Random
jargon.
dude.
You're just like,
It's time for Marines.
people don't talk like that. But sure, why not? It also goes right back to that beautiful bit of dialogue between the two of them where he's like, I could sleep in the car. It's better than this floor anyway. And then she's like, well, where do you want to sleep, Dr. Challis? Well, that's a pretty dumb question, Mrs. Grimbridge. They just start making out.
Yeah, they just get
God.
right into it.
Yeah.
I really needed to live in the 80s. Shit!
I don't think you did.
No.
Do you have anything else?
No, that's about it, I
Thank
guess.
Christ. All right. I got a couple things I'm going to knock out here. We already talked about landing the mask on the surveillance camera. Okay. So I got 3 things here. Cochrane's speech that he gives when Challis is tied up. Speaking as somebody who has watched the Halloween franchise front to back numerous times, with the exception of Halloween Resurrection that I have watched once, and that movie can go die a fucking horrible death. Cochrane's speech about basically where Halloween originated and what it was like for his people back in the old country is one of the creepiest, most visceral moments in all of the Halloween movies for me, because I can see it. There's no violence happening or anything like that, at least on screen, but when he's talking about the human sacrifice and what they had to do to kind of protect the barrier between the spirit world and our world, I buy it. I believe it 100%. This guy has seen some shit.
Right.
And what he is doing, he believes, is right to protect his people at the end of the day. So this sacrifice that he's doing is, he's out of his mind, but he thinks it's what needs to be done to protect his people.
It was freaky.
Which is interesting because a few movies later, when we get to Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, the whole plot gets very, very convoluted, but it does kind of come down to a lot of what Cochrane is saying about the planets being in alignment and Halloween being a time of sacrifice, because in The Curse of Michael Myers, there is a cult that deals with the planets being in alignment and there being a curse and human sacrifice, and that is kind of how Michael Myers, in this particular film, The Curse of Michael Myers, what his purpose is to be a vessel for that sacrifice. So it gets very convoluted and very weird, but it is funny how this movie that has nothing to do with the rest of the franchise does kind of end up tying into that. So I love that speech. I think it's great. It's probably the creepiest moment in the film for me. There's a lot of creepy moments in this film, but that one definitely takes the cake. Tom Atkins' conviction in that final scene with him on the phone is so believable. And everything that you've seen about this character, that goes back to what I was saying about him being a genuine person who genuinely cares. Like, he is at his wit's end trying everything. He's finally gotten to a phone. He's gotten the 2 channels turned off. And he's going for a third back in a time when there was only 3 fucking channels. So good for him. Because otherwise, in this day and age, he would have been fucked. The desperation and the believability of that performance in this fucking bonanza of an 80s horror picture is so believable. I can't get enough of it. I love his performance in that final scene. And speaking of that final scene, just, you know, I got a question for you boys in a minute, but that scene itself is just nail-biting. I love it. It is, for me, it is a perfect end to this movie. I love the ambiguity of it all. I love how intense it is. Everything in this movie builds up to that final scene for me. And I think it is so well directed, so well shot and performed, and it's perfection for me. So that's all I have to say about that. Let's go ahead and wrap this segment up. We're going to go ahead and dive right on in to the shit. So, I have a very short list for the things that I didn't like in this movie, if you can believe it or not. Right up the gate, I have 1 hour later. We have these titles that pop up that say October, Friday the 24th or whatever, or Saturday the 24th, and then Halloween, Sunday the 31st. There is a moment in the very beginning of the film where a screen caption comes up and it just says 1 hour later. Why do I need that? Why do I need that? I do not need... No one cares. It could have been 1 hour later, it could have been 2 hours later, it could have been 5 minutes later. It doesn't have an effect on the movie whatsoever.
Yep.
Take it out, it's nonsensical. Kalen, what do you got?
Okay.
Plus, with how many times we hear that fucking song and that countdown, I think I can put together what fucking day it is.
Alright, so I already told you about the exploding car.
Yeah.
So I have one kind of big fat complaint about the movie.
Yeah.
That takes up about 3 of these. And I really feel like it should all be woven into one.
Yeah, go for it. Go ahead.
So I have here Dr. Suave / relationship with Ellie / Teddy in forensics. And you're talking about how this character seems like a genuine guy and genuinely charming and all this stuff. And I agree. Well, I agree that he seems like sweet.
Mm-hmm.
He seems he seems to have good intentions. I get that. I'm with that. He is not fucking suave. Like, he is the most unpimpin' motherfucker I have ever seen in the world. It's amazing to me how awkward this actor can be in some of these moments that are supposed to be romantic. And I'm watching this with my girlfriend, and she's just like, why are any of these bitches interested in this guy? Like, he is awkward as shit. And, like, examples would be, like, you mentioned the scene where he's like, maybe I'll sleep in the car. And she's like, where do you want to sleep, Doctor Challis? And, like, it's like, that scene, that moment is like porn. Yeah. Like, it's like a porn parody, but we don't get the porn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not good.
Could not agree more.
It's not good. And, like, here's my thing. What is it that I am led to believe has this 24-year-old smoking hottie who's just like, I'm gonna fuck this random 50-year-old doctor?
If I could tap in really quick, just briefly, I'll let you get right back to it because this is just my random thoughts that I have here. It's just, is Ellie just fucking Dan Challis because she misses her dad? Because I feel like he is about her father's age. Okay. Like, that is... So that, watching this time, I was like, well, she's clearly just she's clearly just heart-wrenched over her father and is looking for that fatherly thing. So,
Yeah.
Okay. So it's so funny you say that, because I was going to make a crass joke and then a serious point where I was going to say, now don't get me wrong, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for a 24-year-old hottie to bang a 50-year-old doctor who reminds her of her dad who didn't pay attention to her. That's the crass joke.
Damn.
Now, no, look.
I'm sorry, I spoiled it.
In all seriousness, a masculine, successful older man sleeping with a younger woman, there's nothing that weird about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I don't buy it with these two characters in this circumstance at all. Like, nothing that happens between them sells it to me. The chemistry's not there. And the beats where people are sort of laying the foundation for an attraction to each other, where they're sort of building that bridge together, we don't get any of that. It's just that one moment, it's just like, all right, we fucking...
Yeah, so where this is again kind of playing into what 80s cinema is, because I can tell you in this day and age, that scene would not happen. Even in something, again, I'll call it back to Curse of Michael Myers, Paul Rudd is in the film, he plays the lead, and there's another equally attractive young woman, and they have a partnership in the film, and this is in the mid-90s, so this is still prime for, like, two beautiful people. Obviously, they're going to be in love. But that relationship doesn't happen, and that is beautiful in that film, because it just shows that it lends itself to the intensity of the situation, which I would say is a reason why the relationship in this film would not function the way it does in reality, because a girl that is searching for her father so intently and is that concerned about her father, regardless of how horny she is not going to be sleeping with somebody. She does not have that on her mind. I guarantee it. I don't know anything about women. I don't. I really don't. I promise you I don't. But I know about the human psyche, and I'm sorry, if you are that concerned about a loved one, you are not thinking about sleeping with somebody else. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Even if you want to try and play the old, like, oh, I'm stressed out of my mind looking for some sort of, outlet sort of a deal. Like, at this stage in the game, she's not thinking she's going to die. She might not even think her dad's dead. Or her dad is dead, but she is looking for answers,
Yeah.
I just don't think that she's in the mindset to make that decision.
Right.
So I agree.
So the only thing I would say to that is, I actually think if you've ever seen anyone in the throes of severe grief, like the sudden loss of a parent, or the sudden loss of a child or a sibling or a lover, you will see them behave sexually in a way they don't normally. Sudden onset promiscuity during the worst moments of grief is actually a very real thing. And so I think your point there about her being in this hotel room and her dad just died and being like, come here and make me feel better, I think that's actually the best sell. But that also makes Doctor Challis a little bit of a scumbag. Maybe he shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. Right.
And then I was just going to say and for example, his interactions with Teddy, that forensics chick, I just don't buy the. He's like, oh, I can't wait to take you to dinner. There's there's such a lack of game in his behavior that just for me is just very blaring and apparent.
See, my disagreement with that would just be that he's just nice. That again goes back to what I say about him being a genuine human being, and that's why him and his wife are divorced, because his wife is not a kind person,
nice person,
and
right.
he is, and that's why these women like him, because he's just nice. At the end of the day, it's astounding how much kindness and just being a good, decent person, how far that gets you. Today in the grocery store, a woman kind of cut me off, and I didn't even think about it. It didn't even cross my mind. She came back. She's like, "I'm so sorry." And I was like, "Oh, no, you're fine." She's like, No. That was so rude of me. I was like, "You're totally okay." It never even crossed my mind that anything she did was out of the ordinary. It didn't bother me at all. I work in the service industry. Humans are fucking scumbags.
People are shit. Yeah.
So that little bit of someone just crossing my path didn't even faze me. So I would just kind of go back to.
But did that get you laid?
He's not a doctor.
That's right. It's funny when you said she cut you off that you're gonna be like, and then I killed her.
Fellas, I'm a married man. I can't comment on this.
Right. My bad.
But to your point, I agree. I just think there's something endlessly charming about the actor Tom Atkins. He does have charisma, even if he doesn't have game. And I think that does, at the end of the day, kind of lend itself to this character. Again, I'm biased because I love him. I think he's
So it's Magnum PI vibes, dude. I'm telling you.
But see, with Magnum PI,
doesn't have those shorts.
you get this guy fucks vibe. You know what I'm saying? You don't have that so much with Dr. Challis.
All right, Brian, what do you got for your shit?
I'm jumping onto that one still because I really liked the asking a woman's age after intercourse. After they're lying
To
in
which
bed
I
naked.
responded, I was like, "Oh no, he did it right." He's thinking with his real head now because
Right.
one hand was talking louder than the other. I mean,
man.
in that circumstance, come on, you're divorced. All these gals that you work with are constantly flirting with you, but never putting out. Oh God, we're going to
Yeah, he
hell.
gets on the phone with the corner chick and she's like, "When are you going to take me to dinner?" He's like, "Oh my God! I've been 100 miles away now, damn it!"
All right, I got this. This is just a silly one that is really doesn't hold any substance whatsoever. But I said that the fireman that's standing in the office with Doctor Challis after the suicide looks like he is dressed up as a fireman.
He's wearing the hat.
I legit was watching it this time, and it caught me so off guard. I've seen this movie so many times, and I was like, "What the fuck is this trick-or-treater doing in this office right now?"
He's like, "I've got a mustache. It's October. I'll buy a hat."
I'm a firefighter.
He's leaned against the wall with a cup of coffee in his hand and a button-up and jeans.
See, I think that's the most realistic part of the movie, though. Some firefighter just hanging out with his hat on so the girls know he's a firefighter, and he's drinking coffee I'm getting paid right now.
The car's still smoking outside the next day.
Joke's on him. He was one of the firefighters that got killed by Michael Myers in Halloween Kills.
There you go.
I got hiding behind the rolling mask cart.
I had that one too.
I'm watching it. I'm like, what is this fucking Looney Tunes right now? Nobody notices this cart.
It's holding up a cup and walking by this. They don't see us.
In a room with 30
Facing all
robots.
directions. Yeah, robots.
Yeah, they're facing outwards in a circle.
Well, these are the same assholes that the minute the fucking TV screens start lighting up going do, they're like, "Oh God, how do we turn it off?" The doctor who saw this one time who turned it on, we can't turn it off. We're going, and they go at it for 2 minutes before the fucking palm
He goes all the way
dropping.
upstairs. He's up in the attic. They're still fucking with it. The whole team.
Oh, goddamn. Do you guys have anything else for your shit list?
Uno mas.
Uno mas, hit me.
No, we get them all in mine.
Mine was okay. Oh, okay. I have two.
Go ahead.
A quick one was I think they could have done a slightly better job with Dr. Challis' character motivation. Was he just so distraught that a patient of his had been murdered that he decided to go become James Bond?
Yeah.
Or was it this beautiful young woman, like, come with me, I need you to come on this adventure and catch these bad guys, you become James Bond? I just don't see some random 50-year-old doctor dad going off on this adventure to become, like, a fucking superhero to, like, save the world. Or, you know, even just, like, catch a killer or, like, it's just a lot.
Yeah.
And, like, I could believe that he did it because he was distraught over his patient. I could believe he did it because he was, you know, hypnotized by the beauty of this young woman. I could believe either of those things, but nothing is ever offered to me as, like, a reason. So the character motivation felt like a flaw. The whole movie, I was like, God damn it, give me something. And then the last thing, just to kill that, is I say here the lore. And I can't decide if they gave us too much or if they didn't obfuscate enough and keep it a little bit more mysterious.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if I would have liked to seen it fleshed out in greater detail or if I feel like maybe they pulled the curtain a little too far back. And I think I'm leaning towards they pulled the curtain a little too far back.
Okay.
Because I was so into this movie through the first 2 acts. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the 3rd act, I was like, all right, it was good. But, like, through the first 2 acts, I was so excited, and I feel like a little bit more mystery at the end. Not that, you know, I mean, obviously there was ambiguity to it, but I feel like a little bit more mystery and a little bit more wonder being left, what might have been pretty cool.
No, I can, I agree with you. It's one of those moments where, like, have you seen Halloween Ends yet?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'll say this about Halloween Ends, where it's a very complex film, and there's issues with it, and I have issues with it, but I also am infatuated with it to a degree where I'm like, there's stuff not right about it, but I can't exactly pinpoint what it is. And to your point about the lore, I agree. Maybe it should be less. Maybe it should be more. I don't know which one it is, but you're not wrong in that. To the point about Doctor Challis, I just think he's, if I can make the argument that he's a medical man, because he hardly ever seems like he is. But I think he just, if I can make a comparison to fucking cinematic masterpiece that is The Matrix, I think it is Neo going, what is The Matrix?
And I would have happily bought that character motivation if they had sold me any of it.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
I think that's a great.
I think it is just the there is that moment of where I think it's Teddy who's the talking to him, the coroner, and she's like, "This really has you, doesn't it?" And he's like, "I've worked at this hospital for a long time, and people like he gets cut off from being able to really kind of give what he just says like." Somebody doesn't just walk in, and you know he's going to say, somebody just doesn't walk in and kill a man for no reason, and I don't know, this man who's under my care is now dead, and I just saw a man fucking explode himself, so I think he's got a fucking, like, fire under his ass to be like, I don't understand, and it bothers me, and you know what? Fuck my ex-wife. Fuck my kids. There's a hot piece of pussy, and it might lead to some answers. So,
I just wish they had given us a little more of that.
Yeah,
sprinkle that in.
Right. Yeah.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
I got 2 things here. One is I'm not entirely sure, even after all these watches, I'm not entirely sure what happened to Cochran at the end of the film.
That's one of mine.
I just don't have any answers, and I can't even begin to make sense of it. So there's that. My big thing, the only thing that I would outright, if I could convince them to go back and George Lucas this shit, I would fucking have them do it, because I think it would make this so much cooler. They have these little bits of Halloween 1978 playing on the TV. as a film in that universe, which
So
lends
cool.
itself to suggest that it is part of our universe. What I would do differently is have newsreels of killings in Haddonfield
100%.
to suggest
100%.
that this is part of the Halloween universe.
100%.
And that's,
And
Myers is off doing his own
To
thing somewhere
piggyback
else.
on that, when they're showing all the kids in all the different cities, New York, and Chicago, blah, 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 I would have one of the cities that they showed be Haddonfield, Illinois. So,
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Do you think maybe the only reason they avoided that was to avoid maybe handcuffing themselves to the results of this movie in the future?
I think that they, because of what a bold, off the beaten path approach it was to this, that they almost thought to themselves that this was a guaranteed success. Because never in a million years would a movie like this get made with the understanding of the franchise as it already is. Had it been established, like nowadays you'd be like, oh yeah, we had this film, and then all the press releases would be like, yeah, this is an anthology, blah, 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 blah. And, obviously this is the 80s, there's no internet, people didn't know, but I think
it's different.
I think that they just really thought that this was going to be a money-making idea. And it, again,
It sounded like.
in this day and age, it absolutely would be.
Right.
2 questions for you boys, and then we'll wrap up this episode. First and foremost, do we think Ellie was a robot the entire time?
I don't think so. I think after they captured her, they either killed her off, did whatever, made the robot, and then sent her on her merry way. Because there's that scene where he got away, and then Cochran's like, no, he hasn't yet. He knew he was coming back for her. I think that was like his whole little bait and switch thing towards the tail end. He was like, he'll come back, we'll put him back together, and then she'll handle it.
I agree.
Plain and
And
simple.
also, breadcrumbs, none of the other robots talk. And,
True. That's right.
Or have sex.
Yeah, that was
know
the
what I mean?
kicker.
It'd be hard to not know that you're fucking a robot. Like, without the way those things were. Anyway. No, I don't think she was a robot. You mentioned the other robots talk. I think that, you kind of hit on it. What was the logic to creating a robot daughter of this guy that you killed so that you could lure this one specific doctor to your fucking evil lair?
It fucks with the
It doesn't
whole
make
thing.
any sense. There's literally no logical explanation for her initially being a robot. So no, I don't buy that. I think Ellie was a real human. I think she was that guy's daughter. I think all of that happened and was real, and then captured, replaced by an automaton. I would like to believe that she survived, but I don't think that she did.
No, I don't think that she did either. That building blows up. And again, that's another element of just sheer fucking darkness. This character that we have fucking been with this entire movie dies off screen.
Yep. It's pretty.
And then her
pretty
doppelganger is absolutely obliterated by Challis.
And of the characters, which one of them would you have rather seen made it out?
Yeah.
None of us wanted to see Ellie fucking die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not what we were all rooting for. So that's rough. And bold writing, bold storytelling.
And on top of that, did Doctor Challis succeed in getting the third channel taken off? Ooh. I got two answers for you boys, but I want to hear what you guys think.
What do you think, B-Rai?
I don't think so. I don't think they turned it off.
Yeah.
Because he was only on the line with, the TV station, right? Because he was only talking to one person. They cut the first 2. So, you have to call another line to get to the third one. Is it all just the one network he has to talk to? He was screaming for a while, and they killed the first 2 pretty quick. For them to hesitate that long to kill the third one, I don't know. I think they succeeded.
It just felt to me like such a dark story.
Right.
And the Pied Piper nature of it all. it just didn't feel to me like the kind of story where he succeeds.
Yeah, because I think they swing it up a little bit at the tail end, like he's gonna do it, he can pull it off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I think they're pulling it away from you.
Yeah.
So Tom Atkins,
Mhm.
the actor who betrays Dr. Daniel Challis, stands by the fact that he got the third channel off. He says that in a couple of different documentaries. He says,
Wow.
"Yes, I'm here to tell you, Challis got that third channel taken off. However, in the novelization of the film, it says, while the film leaves open the question whether Challis was able to get the third network to pull the Silver Shamrock ad, the book conclusively states that he failed as the children die screaming." And I do believe in the book it is actually said, the line is roughly, I'm going to paraphrase, that screaming could be heard around the world.
That's so
That's dark. Yeah.
And to me, that is the ending of the film.
Yeah.
That is, he does not get it turned
I don't
off.
think so.
This film is far too bleak.
Yeah.
Right?
From the very beginning,
Exactly.
I told you, like,
Exactly. It's a
that credit scene tells you
Yeah.
everything
Right.
you need to know about how this movie is going to play out simply by that wonderful score by John Carpenter and Alan Hallworth. Yeah, I think all those kids die, and I think they're unable to succeed, which makes for a hell of a picture as far as I'm concerned. But shit, we have been talking for a long time, and this has been an extremely long episode with lots of fun-filled thoughts and chit-chats. So we are going to take, I'm going to say a break, but we're just going to go on to the next episode. And we're going to talk about all the behind-the-scenes shit involving this film. You're going to hear a little bit from myself, Brian, and Kalen. We're all going to do a little bit of reading about the behind-the-scenes and making of the film, and about the box office and how the film was received, which, spoiler alert, was not well.
Not good. Not good, folks.
And then we're going to wrap things up with our general feelings about the film. So please look forward to that. And, if you guys are listening on Spotify, give us a like. That would be super duper helpful. Thanks for tuning in. I am your host, Johnny Horror. With me are my boys, Brian Calvert and Kalen Berreman, and this is the Johnny Horror Podcast, and fucking happy Halloween. See you on the flip side.
Bye.
Later.